CBS News chief congressional correspondent Nancy Cordes joins me now from Capitol Hill. Nancy, what a night. Take us through Senator McCain's dramatic vote and how that all unfolded.
It was unbelievable, Meg. You know, I've seen a lot of dramatic moments here on Capitol Hill over the years, but nothing that played out quite like this. Normally with a bill that is this important, you have a pretty clear idea, at least, once the vote starts, whether the party in power has the votes it needs or not. In this situation, that was absolutely not the case. And you could see from their body language that senators on the floor themselves didn't know where things stood. And over the course of this vote, you had Vice President Pence, you had Senate Leader Mitch McConnell, others trying to convince the holdouts, most notably John McCain, to switch. And Pence and McCain were locked in a discussion for quite a while. And clearly, in the end, nothing came of it. And Pence, who had come here to Capitol Hill thinking that he was going to have to cast a tie-breaking vote on this health care bill, discovered that his services really weren't needed. At one point, Pence left the floor, and then McCain did too, leading many to assume that probably what was going on was that Pence was calling the president to tell him that they were one vote shy, and then the president asking to talk to McCain himself. But as you can imagine, the president at this point probably has limited ability to sway someone like John McCain. This is someone who the president said a year ago or more was not a hero, that he didn't consider him a hero because he had been captured and had multiple opportunities to walk that back. His aides have been asked about it a lot recently, and each time they refused to take it back. So as you can imagine, the relationship between those two men is pretty strained. And McCain said after the vote that this was a shell of a bill, and that's something that a lot of his fellow Republican senators openly admitted, that it wasn't good policy. They claimed that you just needed to get something over to a negotiation with the House of Representatives, and then the bill would become much better in the process of talks with House Republicans. But what McCain argued, and what the two other Republican holdouts, Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, argued, was that there was really nothing to guarantee, Meg, that if those talks with the House fell apart, say a month from now, that the House couldn't just scoop up skinny repeal, the bill that the Senate was about to pass, and pass it themselves and send it to the president's desk. And he said that was a risk that was just too great.
Well, it certainly unfolded in dramatic fashion, as you pointed out. So now the big question, now that this repeal and replace plan is essentially dead, are there any options left for Republicans here?
The Senate has moved on. Republican leader Mitch McConnell announced in the wee hours of the morning they're moving on to defense spending. So there will be no more attempts, at least not for right now, in the Senate to try to cobble together some kind of package that they think can get 51 votes. They were actually ready to throw in the towel, frankly, a week ago, Meg, but then the president called all of the Senate Republicans to the White House and said that they need to do better, that they've made this promise to the American people and they need to keep it. And so that sort of sent them scrambling back to the drawing table to figure out if there was something else that they hadn't thought of, some other kind of package, and that's how they landed on this skinny repeal bill. But at this point, they have pretty much exhausted their legislative options. This is going to be a bitter disappointment to Republicans in the House of Representatives, who did manage to pass their own reform bill back in May by one vote. That was a tortured process as well, but they did get it through the House at the end of the day, and they have just been watching and waiting this Senate process drag on. The Senate Republicans hated the House bill so much, Meg, that they said they were ripping it up and starting over, and they claimed that they could do far better. But in the end, they really weren't able to come up with anything that could get 50 out of the 52 Republican senators to sign on.
Nancy Cordes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.